A new bill proposed by lawmakers in Nashville looks to help homeless college students. That plan would require post-secondary colleges and universities to have a designated homeless student liaison. That staff member would be required to develop a plan to offer housing resources to students who are enrolled or who plan to enroll in the school. Another bill would add kids' bicycles to what's tax-free on tax-free weekend. Right now, that list includes some supplies for school, some electronics, and some clothing. Right now, both of those are just plans. They're proposals. They'll have to pass several subcommittees and committees and then move on to the full House and Senate before they head to the desk of the governor. In most parts of East Tennessee, you are surrounded by nature. The 10 plants UT researchers say have had the biggest impact